All right. Hello, guys. So this video is going to go along with your Cladogram Practice Packet. And so by the time you're doing this, you should have already watched the 7-minute video, the Bozeman Cladogram video, for a quick review on cladograms. And then you should have also already done the 6 practice cladograms by yourself. I've probably already told you this, but I don't know why these always pop up on the air test. So what I've put in this packet is five of them are actual air test questions. The first one is not. It was just kind of to ease you into the idea of a cladogram. But so what I think is really valuable is taking time right now and kind of understanding cladograms, the types of questions they might ask of you. Some of them might be, there's like a multiple choice as you saw, there's click and drag, there's all types. So I'm going to spend this video just kind of reviewing what I'd like you to get out of the cladogram packet. So if you'll look at your paper, cladogram number 1 is looking at different types of animals and different characteristics that they have or that they don't have. So number 1 says, what separates rabbits and primates from crocodiles? So here we have rabbits and primates, to crocodiles. So hair is one trait. So the crocodiles do not have hair. So hair, and then eggs with shells. So primates and rabbits do not have eggs with shells. So the 2 characteristics they don't have in common on this cladogram is hair and eggs with shells. Question 2, which organism is most closely related to the rodents and rabbits? So here again is the rodents and the rabbits, and the thing most closely related to them is the primates right here. Okay, so those 2 are the most closely related. Question 3, what 5 traits do the bird and its closest relative share? So birds are way over here, and its closest relative is going to be the crocodile. And so the 5 traits that they have in common are actually all of these, right? So they have eggs with shells, amniotic egg, 4 limbs, bony skeleton, and vertebrae. Which organism's DNA will differ the most from the bird and why? So again, here we have the bird. And so the organism that's going to differ the most would be the organism, I think of it as being kicked off the first or the furthest away. So in this case, it would be the bird and the shark. So way down here, the shark is a vertebrate. In fact, all these organisms are vertebrates, right? Because they all continued past the little vertebrae marker, but then the sharks quickly got kicked off. And then 5, what is the primary difference between sharks and ray-finned fish? So sharks and ray-finned fish is going to be whether or not they have a bony skeleton. So again, both of them are going to have vertebrae, but the sharks got kicked off because they do not have a bony skeleton. They have a cartilaginous skeleton. And the ray-finned fish continued on because they do in fact have a bony skeleton. So that's a pretty simple cladogram. And honestly, I feel like this is the type of cladogram I would throw on our test or practice. We'll see that that's very different on the stinking air test. So here is cladogram number 2 from our practice packet. And a few things I want to talk about. So it says the table shows the number of amino acid differences among organisms A through E for a common protein with 113 amino acids. Use the data in the table to complete the cladogram by placing an organism label in each box. Notice that it says place only 1 organism label in each blank, and there may be more than 1 correct answer. They don't always say that. So I feel very confident that almost every time it says there may be more than 1 correct answer, you might be very well saying, wait a second, how do you know where E or F goes or whatever? And if that's the case, it's probably because there would be 2 correct answers. And in this case, we do see that. So what they've done is taken organisms A through E and analyzed a long protein. The protein is made up of 113 amino acids that are linked together, right? We've talked about that, you guys, you know that. So what this table is telling us is the number of differences. So the largest number of differences means that they're going to be the least closely related. The smallest number of differences means that in this protein, they're going to be the most closely related. So right off the bat, what helps me is I can see in this blank cladogram that these organisms are going to be the most closely related organisms of the table. And so what I did was looked at the number of differences and I looked for the smallest. So I see that as number 1. So these two organisms, B and C, only had one difference in all 113 amino acids. So that tells me that they're going to be the most closely related. In this case, this is where we see the possibility of 2 correct answers. So these organisms are going to be B and C, but it doesn't matter where you place each. So B could be on top and C on bottom, or vice versa. So all we care about is that these organisms will definitely be letter B and letter C. Then we want to figure out which organism is most closely related to D. And if I look at the table, I see the next smallest number is number 3 here. So number 3 means that of 113 amino acids, only 3 of them were different when it came to organism D and E. So now I know that those 2 are most closely related. So this one here, this blank, has to be E. And then through process of elimination, and the largest number of differences would be A. And then we covered them all, right? So A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, so there's an example of an answer. Remember that B and C up at the very top could have been swapped and you would get full credit on the air test. Okay, let's flip to cladogram number 3. Cladogram number 3 is actually pretty easy, but I have to tell you, I have never seen anything like this before or since. This one came out, was probably released like 5 years ago, and I've never seen a cladogram like this. I don't know why they did this, but it's actually pretty easy. So it says DNA sequences for a number of bird families in the order Passeriformes are shown. Differences in the DNA sequences between the Ptiloris family and other bird families in this order are highlighted in red. An incomplete phylogenetic tree that notes important differences in the DNA among these bird families is also shown. Use the DNA sequence data to complete the phylogenetic tree. Move each bird family label into the correct blank box in the phylogenetic tree, which tells me, first of all, there must be only one correct answer, since it didn't specify otherwise. And it did tell you that on the real air test, you will be clicking and dragging these little names. So here's the phylogenetic tree. And if we look up at the top, let's see what the heck we're given. So it is giving us a DNA sequence of these different families. And at the very top, notice that they're numbered. Okay, so they've numbered each base 1 through 31. I've never seen that, but whatever. So what this actually means, which is actually makes it pretty simple, is this is telling you the kind of like the mutation or the change in a particular base. So this is saying base number 26. So let's go over here. Here's 26. T is going to be changed to a C, in which case in base number 26, all of them have been changed to a C except this one right here. And if you look at what's happening in the phylogenetic tree, the one that isn't a C got kicked off and is down here at the very bottom, Ptiloris. So that makes sense. Everything else continues on. So let's look at the next one. It says now base number 13 is going from a C to an A in this family. So let's go up here to base 13. Oh, and there's only one A, so that makes sense. And that's going to be the epidonyx. So you're going to click and drag, and you would have this box say the epidonyx. Okay, so let's go up here. Now we know that all the remaining must have a base. Number 1 must be a C. So let's go up here since there's only going to be one blank. So let's go to base number 31, way over here at the end. And it says for these two families, we want the C to be swapped to a T. And by golly, if you look in base number 31, there are 2 families that have a T. So the Vireo here at the bottom, Vireo has a T, and that's already placed for us. So now we know we will place I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say that. The D one. That will be the second one here. So the Vireo, and then the family that starts with a D will be the second. And then again, through process of elimination, or you can go back and check the base number. The middle one would be Mencuodia or something, the M word. And that's it. So again, it looks very complicated. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what they're giving us, but it all makes sense. And it's actually quite easy. So here is the correct answer. They have to be in that location. Cladogram 4. Okay, cladograms show evolutionary relationships among species. Several species of organisms, an incomplete cladogram, and labels representing inherited traits are shown. Place an organism in each of the blank boxes to show relatedness among the organisms. Place the trait labels on the cladogram to show when the traits appeared. Place the trait labels on or near the blue dots on the cladogram. You do not need to use all of the organisms. You should use all of the traits, and there may be more than one correct answer. So on the real air test, you'll be clicking and dragging the organisms, and you can see that there's only 3 spots, but they gave you 4 bugs, and there are 3 traits, and they say you have to use all 3 traits. So what I did was look at the traits, and I tried to come up with one trait that I could plop here that this beetle did not have, but 3 of them do. And so the first trait I came up with here was segments. So the segments, you can see here, this guy is all brown. And these 3 organisms have a brown abdomen, so the big brown abdomen, and then a whitish like thorax and head. So anyways, I put segment here, and then I moved on, and of these 3, the next trait I put was antenna, because one of them did not have an antenna. So I knew that this bug is going to be the bug right here that does not have antenna. And then the third trait I put here was wing. Actually, it can be on either one of these. And that's one of the pieces of more than one correct answer. So one of the top here must be wings, and only one organism has wings. So whichever phylogenetic branch you choose to put wings, it needs to have the critter here with wings. So let me go, here's the correct answer. So we have segments, antenna, and wings. Notice that with the wings, I've placed the insect with wings. And then over here, I placed the insect with no antenna. And in the middle is the insect with antenna, but no wings. So again, your tree could have looked like these 2 were swapped, right? So just one of these needs to have wings and then have the winged critter. So that is cladogram 4. You can keep on moving to cladogram 5. Okay, so a cladogram of several members of the phylum Arthropoda is shown. 2 new species, X and Y, have recently been discovered. The table shows the traits that these 2 new species possess. So here you can look at the data table really quick, and we're looking at 4 different traits for each organism. So species X and species Y. And it tells us to move the species X and Y labels into the appropriate blank boxes in the cladogram. There may be more than one correct answer, and you do not need to fill in the boxes. Again, if it tells you that there may be more than one correct answer, keep that in mind. Okay, so I just kind of started at the top of the data table, which kind of goes in order of the traits in the cladogram. So if you look at the top here, both species X and Y have an exoskeleton. So that tells me both X and Y are going to move past the exoskeleton. They both have compound eyes, so I keep on moving. They both have mandibles, so I keep on moving. But when it comes to antenna, species X does not have antenna. So that tells me that species X has to shoot off here before antenna. So species X must be here. Oh golly, sorry. If we look at species Y does say it has an antenna. So species Y is going to continue past the antenna. And you know what, you guys, based on the information given, species Y can be placed here or here. Okay, so let me see. Here is the answer key that shows you species X in the correct place and Y. But remember, Y could go in either of these locations. And let's do our final cladogram. So here's a cladogram, and it's just a multiple choice response. So it says, scientists construct the cladogram shown of plants in the genus Clusia based on evidence collected from DNA analysis. Which conclusion is supported by the cladogram? So remember, the organisms that are, I think of them as being closest in their little web almost, are going to be most closely related. So as you look through the answers, they're looking for the organisms that are the most closely, right? If you look, it says are most closely related, and all of them. So I know right off the bat, without even looking at the answers, that these 2 are the most closely related. So let's see if that's an option, right? So if you look at their little web, they are going to be the closest together. And in fact, option B, so C. rosea, and C. cylindrica are the most closely related of the 4 species, and that is correct. So the answer is B. Okay, so with the air test coming up, I would like to emphasize that you guys have had practice. We've learned this stuff. You need to feel confident in yourself and in your responses. Read the terms really closely. So remember, so here are my little air reminders. Some have more than one correct answer. Some include like all of the following except, which messes with my brain, but keep that in mind. Some require you to gather like 2 different parts of data. And you might use like data from part 1 on part 2, and that's fine. You can do it. Be careful of the click and drag directions. Like in the one of the cladograms, it specifically tells you where to click and drag, like it said next to the blue dot or something. So just be mindful of those reminders. Narrow your choices for each question. So, try to look at the ones that are really obvious or worded wrong, or even what they try to do is like pull a whole like weird terms or hard terms or unrelated stuff and make it look really complicated in some of the like multiple choice ones. So just be mindful They may be tricking you. And then, of course, double check each answer. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Remember that I've also posted a huge Quizlet to help you review content. There's the extra credit Google Slide document that you can kind of flip through over the weekend to also help you review some content. I guess that's it. Email me if you guys need anything.